that people are thinking about online learning almost as a rudimentary adaptation of the way people think that they learned in terms of like going to school or whatever it is, where a teacher sat in front of the room, delivered a lecture, and then gave you homework and you went and did that homework on your own, right?
Right.
When you bring learning online that way, you're kind of using the internet and its strengths. I would say you're not using the internet and its strengths, right? The delivery of information is what it's good at. But if you're teaching, pre-recorded lectures, but not using the internet as an opportunity to create a real tight feedback loop between you as an educator and the learner to figure out, well, when they watch the lesson, what do they understand, but also what don't they understand? What are they still stuck on and getting confused about? And I'd say, maybe most importantly, what can you do to help them actually take the lesson that they just watched, or the demo or the example, the screencast? Can you get them to do it too? And that's the work that I think Amy and I have put into place over all the years, all the evolution of the courses that we created, and why our courses stand out for a lot of our students, not just as the thing that they teach, but for a lot of folks tell us it's the best online course they've ever taken, not because they like the material, but because it actually helped them do the thing they signed up to do. If you think of a spark plug in a car, if the two pieces of metal are touching, there's no spark. If they're too far apart, there's no spark. But if there's just enough of a gap, you get the spark. And so our learning design goal was to create just enough of a spark, of a gap where the spark could be created. So they're bad at it. They watch Amy be very good at it and show a specific process. And then the last step is, now you go do it again. Try and apply what you watched from an expert demo, and the transformation is basically instantaneous. Are they as good at Amy or I or somebody else who has a ton of practice? Of course not, but they feel that difference instantly.
Yeah.
And that feedback loop alone completely changed the dynamic of the course, the dynamic and the rate at which people implemented those lessons and started seeing successes. And it massively heightened the feedback loop for us to realize what was still missing. The very first step is to understand another person, right? Whether you're creating a physical product, a digital product, a course, whatever it is. If you are starting with an idea and you can't tell me exactly who's going to buy it, and including what other kinds of things like it do they buy, what influences their buying decisions. I'm not talking about demographics. I'm not saying 35 to 45, women on the East Coast of the United States. Psychographics. What makes that person tick? How do you understand that person's worldview, how they perceive the world around them? How do you understand how they make decisions? How do you understand what other kinds of things they buy? If you start asking those questions after you have an idea in mind, you're kind of like a square peg trying to figure out which hole it fits in. And you could do that for a while and you might hit it, but you also might end up forcing it through when, if you had looked at what shapes of holes already exist and which is the easiest one for me, I don't need to make a thing, or this is the easiest thing for me to make for those people. So that's sort of the mindset that we try and reframe and flip people around, is know who you're making it for and understand who they are and what problems they have and how they make decisions. So then you can use that to figure out what it is that they already want, that they would buy if it was put in front of them.